Good morning, everyone. This is Rick Levine from UniformMarket, and I welcome you all to today's webinar titled Private Customer Online Uniform Stores. For those of you familiar with the webinar process, bear with me for a second. If you have questions, there is a control panel on your right-hand side of your screen where you can type out a question. Webinars are audio one-way only. You can hear me, but I can't hear you. I will try to reply to questions as they come up, share them with the group, and or type something privately back to you. If you would like questions answered outside of the webinar, my contact information will be available at the end of the webinar. So, I have a Google PowerPoint presentation prepared, and then we will also go and look at real-world examples of how uniform companies are using private stores to manage uniform direct sale programs of a variety of shapes and sizes. I can also make this Google presentation available to anyone that would like it. After, you can just request so. Very quickly, who are we that is talking to you today? We are UniformMarket. I will not focus exclusively on who UniformMarket is today, but I thought a quick introduction as to who you're on the presentation with would help. We're currently managing 600 or so online uniform stores for a variety of uniform dealers and a few manufacturers directly who use our platform to manage sales. Customers range from single-store retailers to large industrial laundries with thousands of accounts, and many direct sale dealers who manage warehouses and don't necessarily have retail stores. The services that we assist them with is online catalog management, feeding product information from about 95 different suppliers in the uniform industry, as well as a homegrown e-commerce solution that meets the very specific needs of those in the uniform industry to solve many of the business problems, challenges that we're going to discuss today. I'd like to start off by mentioning something that may seem obvious, but it's worth mentioning to begin with. There is not a category in our industry, in the uniform industry, that does not experience online purchasing today. The only question remains for those of us in the industry is who they're buying from and when they're buying from and what is the manner in which they're buying online. We have a number of mechanisms out there in the marketplace already for consumers and users, also known as individuals, shoppers, to go and purchase online. There's companies selling into public safety, into medical, hospitality, and industrial in any number of ways on public-facing websites. Turn those individuals into employees at companies, and that's what we're discussing mostly today, because now suddenly that individual is identifiable because they're part of an agency, a government program of some kind, police, public safety, or they're an employee of a corporation, which is the core customer for the average industrial laundry, hospitals, restaurants, retail, manufacturing concerns, some soil-based, some not soil-based, some programs you may be renting to, some you may be leasing to, some you may have as direct sale, many of whom are now a combination of all three, or two out of the three. And other than the route driver, what are the mechanisms that you are providing to these accounts for them to communicate orders. In particular, if you've got direct sale programs that are complementing portions of a customer's service, you're laundering a portion of it, you're direct selling a portion of it, how are they managing the direct sale portion? How are they interacting with you as their vendor? What are the main distinctions between what you think about in a traditional public website and what you think about as a private online store for these key accounts of yours? Since there are multiple ways that you sell your uniforms and provide these services, it's important that you look at your online stores, solutions, software, interface as being capable of selling in as many different ways as your organization sells. I like to discuss the public versus private just at a very high level in these ways with this language surrounding it, and then we will dive more specifically into private websites today. We also feature webinars and discussions and help customers, with their public websites. Today we're focusing on what it means on the private side. The main difference, as we've already discussed, is one is think of as retail sales. But your private website is program sales. It's specific items as pictured over here on the right here. So instead of this generalized website selling all kinds of products, this is specific, say, to the Culver's franchises, where they log in and the Culver's employee will see only their items. The public website tends to be consumer-focused. Even if it's a business-to-business transaction, you're really talking to them in a consumer level. You're building awareness of your brand on a public website. You're creating community, and you're trying to look for new sales. You're looking for that 13th month of revenue. You're looking for people who haven't purchased from you or people who already are purchasing from you and are now searching for that something extra. Your outside sales team may be using that public website to showcase certain products. It's building brand. It's generating new sales. On the private websites, everything is account-focused. You should be thinking in terms of customer loyalty and dependency. The closer you integrate with your end user in a private website, it is that much harder for that account to imagine using anyone else to service their direct sale needs. Creating dependency is a very important business objective in a private website store environment. And generating repeat sales is, of course, the obvious. The holy grail of our industry, the annuity of our industry. The idea that these employees, these franchise managers can log in, order the same thing every time consistently, again and again. Repeat sales. So that's the general overview of the difference between what we think here about public websites versus private websites. One sec. Okay. Someone was asking me something here. Let me go to the next slide. What is a private store? An online store set up for this particular group. Employees can access the private store and view the exact items they need. They eliminate the confusion and misunderstanding. They ensure that the employees get the correct apparel, footwear, accessories every time. And you want to think of your private stores as very customizable. A cookie-cutter approach will work for a certain percentage of your customers. Your key accounts It's better to think in terms of solving their problems, not yours. Think in terms of what will make it easier for them to get into a site, order from you what they need, and get out of that site. As easy as it is will be as how often they come in and order. Be sure that you're thinking in terms of how that particular customer thinks. Do they think by department? Do they think by job function? Do they think by location? Don't just offer up one solution in your private store world. Think about your customers' business needs, the problems they face in distribution on the private direct sale side of your business, and then offer them opportunities to see that translated to an online environment. So in the case of this picture here, let's break out to a real-world example here. The picture that we were showing there is for enterprise. We're all familiar with renting cars from them. So an example is franchise locations can go here, can log in. Based on their discrete login, they're going to see what's appropriate for them to see. In this case, it's organized by job function. Others may have been organized by branch locations. A security company that operates at 150 different shopping malls needs each shopping mall to be slightly differently identified. I click on bus driver. In this case, franchise location has the ability to operate as a bit of a quartermaster approach. It knows at that particular location, based on my test login, who the employees are, can select the items, place their orders in a very precise manner, and be on their way. A couple of other details of note about this particular program is this is showing warehouse position for the uniform supplier. Some private stores operate in discrete numbers. That's the business relationship between the uniform supplier and their end user. Others may simply show a in-stock or out-of-stock status to assist the purchaser in knowing the warehouse position. Others may not show inventory at all. Again, address each particular situation for your accounts to solve their particular needs. For accounts that fall into a similar pattern, look for your software to allow you to have preset arrangements and templates to facilitate the most common way in which your customers are likely ordering. So if this highly customized version is too customized, for the average account, for a smaller direct sale program that doesn't involve tens of thousands of employees, maybe only involves hundreds of employees, you may have a simpler concept. I'm going to jump to a simpler concept quickly and then go back to my PowerPoint. This is actually a sales demo.uniformmarket.com, salesdemo.uniformmarket.com. You're welcome to go to this anytime and play around as well. But I'm going to this one actually as just an example of how you can set up in the real world a simpler approach than the sophisticated version that an enterprise rent-a-car may operate on. So you grab one of these, you enter them up here. It lets you in as a profile as a particular buyer, type of buyer. So this is a simpler approach. Branded to you, they know who you are. Wouldn't say powered by UniformMarket, obviously. Whoever's developing your private stores, you want them to brand it for, putting their customers' info and then your info. Let's actually look at an example of that. This is, again, here's a simpler example. I'm getting ahead of myself, but here's also an example where they're not ordering solely by dollars. They're ordering by units. They're ordering by allowance. So back to a higher level, what is a private store? Specifically devoted to a group, allows you to customize their particular items to be very specific to them. Also allows them to interact with you in the exact ways that they're accustomed to in the offline world, and you're going to translate that to an online world. So, a better summary of what I just said. It should work just like your current programs. You're currently out there in the real world selling by specification. Somebody comes to you and says, or you set up the account in this way, we order these colors, these sizes with these options from you every time. The store should reflect that. It may be based on job requirements. I, as an employee, should only see certain things. With a specific job title, I should only see certain things. Maybe a supervisor sees things that an employee doesn't see. Maybe a supervisor needs to approve each order. Maybe a supervisor needs to approve each order over a certain dollar value. Employees are allowed to order themselves up to $150, and then anything over must require supervisor approval. All of that needs to match the relationship that you have with your customers. So we encourage you to look for solutions that facilitate that. And then finish off the relationship by the other business rules, which is, how is that end user paying for the items in that relationship? By credit cards, by purchase orders, on a payroll deduct program, on an allowance program. We have examples of how you can facilitate that. If we go back to the one that I logged in here, I logged into this as a supervisor. So then if I were to go to my account as a supervisor, I could go in and I could import and manage payroll deduct programs. I can update these employees as often as I want it. That's one example. Your end user, provide them with a tool that they can go in, manage the allowance themselves via data transfer, or you can set up automatic feeds. Obviously, for your larger accounts, you want to do, many IT companies, will have different names for it. Around here, we call them connectors. The example over here would be the enterprise employees are being fed in straight from enterprise. There's a direct connector from computer to computer. Loads the data in as often as enterprise feeds it, needs it to be updated. And then in this particular case, it talks to the uniform supplier, HPI Direct, to place that order, that information directly into their computers. Employees can log in and see their own ledgers. This happens to be a supervisor, but the supervisor is also an employee. So if they want to log in and see their allowance, they can go in and they'll see a ledger format to say they got this amount added, a supervisor adjustment. They received X amount in their annual, quarterly anniversary. They placed an order and it debited. Having an employee allowance program as part of a private store ensures that your end user is solving their very important business need on their end of accountability, budget, the ability to see reports, a view into their purchasing with you as their supplier in an automated online environment. That's the overview of the different high-end arrangements. Let's look at different views for the actual purchasers. Same store for this hospital, the possibility of 3 different ways to go in and actually order the products. We talked at a higher level for the first 20 minutes. Now we'll talk about some very specific details of laying out pages, helping your customers place orders online. Different people need to buy in different ways from you. There's individuals who buy one item at a time. There's individuals who log in and need to buy a group of items for one individual all at once. And then there's purchasers who want to log in and buy from you and order many items for many people all at once. Solving that business problem for each of your customers becomes critical to their experience interacting with you online in your private stores. The first example is ordering an individual item one at a time. This would be a very traditional view of how a website operates. We saw it when we logged into our example here. Get to a website and I see a series of products and I can click on that product and I can order it. So I click on this Hanes shirt. I see what colors you've made it available for me in. Maybe I see all these colors. Maybe I only see one color. I see the size range that you're stocking for me. Maybe you stock up to 4XL. Maybe for this particular program, you've only agreed to go to 2XL for inventory. So again, an example of a rider truck program. In this case, the uniform company has traded out some individual pictures to show how the product actually looks decorated. Let's look at another example. I'm getting the login to that one. It was not in my cheat sheet. Let's look at a different one. If I go here, example of a launderer many of you may know out in California, Mission Linen. Again, a traditional approach. In this case, I see a series of products I can purchase individually. And in this case then, depending on the vineyard I look at, I select which logo is appropriate. If I need to see the logos, I can click here to view the logos. That would be an example of a traditional single ordering individual items one at a time. The next one is ordering many products for a single employee. We, in our demo, have it as view 1. go back here and show you this example as a medical example. Haven't shown scrub examples yet today, I don't believe. Again, organized in a slightly different fashion. So we've got by job function. In this case, then, I have both individual views or I have bulk order views. We were about to launch into some examples of bulk order views. Again, a bulk order view would be I need to order many items. The first example of a bulk order view is I need to order many products for a single employee. In our demo here, if I click on View 1, you now see how I see the same products, but now I can go in and perhaps instead of calling this Sanmar bundle, this was called New Hire, Summer Uniform, Front of House. And from here, I can select the exact item. So today I need one of these for this employee, one of these for this employee. As you can see, many items per employee all at once. This can also, and should also, if need be, contain decoration information if that needs to be selected on a per product basis. Another example, I go here to bulk orders. You now see an example where I can order many sizes, quantities all at once for each of these products. Shows me an example of the decoration. I can even include some special instructions if needed. Had there been more to the personalization, that would have been included there as well, as you saw in the Gallo example of selecting the actual decoration to be included. That is ordering many products for a single employee. And actually, the last example I showed was a preview of the next one, which is order many products for many employees all at once. Appropriate for a purchasing agent who may be stocking items at a location at the end user's facilities and needs to order in bulk from you on a scheduled basis. I go here and I look at View 2 as the example of what I just said. You will see that now I can go in and instead of ordering one color, one size at a time, I can now choose to order in bulk per size. Still select, you could include the employee assignment in this case. In this case, this likely is not based on an employee assignment. This is based on a bulk order of many products, many sizes, all at once. So we saw 3 examples of how you can arrange your ordering pages to help your purchaser be efficient. If it is best for them to think in individual items, great. Individual items one at a time, a group of items for a single individual, or many items for many individuals all at once. Now, once they've placed these orders, you need to help your customers pay for those items. How your customers pay for items comes in a variety of flavors in the real world. One example might be an employee allowance tool. Let's go one slide back. How do they pay for them? There's traditional e-commerce of credit card payments, payroll deduct programs, purchase orders, employee allowance programs, quartermaster programs, or in many cases, you may have customers coming to you and you need to think in terms of how to have combinations of these activities. You'll want the ability to talk to your customer in terms of, we understand you're allowing $200 per quarter, $200 a month, whatever the number is, $200 per year for purchasing. What would you like to do for the employees who need to order more because they've lost items, soiled items that are unrepairable, et cetera, et cetera? So a combination of these items becomes important in providing a quality solution to your end user. An example of what the payroll or an allowance program looks like, I gave you a little preview of a little while ago. Here's a different screen where the supervisor, for example, can go in and manage items for a particular employee, add and subtract from their allowance. You want to think in terms of how your supervisors can go in and deal with employee lists, add credits, and apply the debits, and see that in ledger formats. While there are a lot of tools out there, UniformMarket offers a standalone version that can work right out of the box, or we have seen examples, as in the one I showed you with Enterprise Rent-A-Car, for example, where it's more directly tied to the end user's systems and the uniform dealers, uniform providers' systems. So you get an end-to-end solution. Sometimes the end users will want allowance programs tied to third-party payroll management systems. So there could even be more companies involved in the number of connectors that need to happen. Look to have your online solutions with the ability to facilitate all of that. Let's look at that ledger again. If I go back to my account, in this example, I can go in and I want to manage and adjust ledgers. This is a full screen version of what we were just looking at. So if I want to manage for a different employee, didn't find one with the letter R in it. Okay, so here's some examples. If I want to find this customer, I can search by their employee ID. And that is employee Dave Sykes. I see what activity has been involved. It's mostly been credits. There's not actually any orders for this period. That's an example of employee allowance tool. Another example would be a quartermaster tool, where the customer does not want to manage an allowance. Your end user simply wants to be able to import lists of employees and associate orders with employees, add employee identification information as they go. Simply helps them be more accurate in their ordering. An example, this case, set up solely for the summer issue. I select a particular officer. I then see the program they're associated with. I see embroidery instructions. All of that, your end user is able to control. Giving them the ability to accurately exchange information with you is what you should look for in managing private online stores. What will be the easiest way for them to supply you with the information required? Employee identification? Do they want to have job titles travel around with the orders? Do they want to set embroidery, per employee, or have the data stored with line items, as we just saw in the Orlando police example, where that is stored? It could have been hand entered each time for each order. How private do you need the store to be? When you think in terms of your direct sale programs, some of them will be behind these password protected front doors that we looked at, that we've seen examples of today. Others may not require that. You may have public stores, private stores that are publicly visible, that it's okay if the shopper can just get straight to the store. You may have a medium level password where all they need to know is a particular location password. There's a general password widely distributed to a particular group of employees or company-wide. And when they log in using just that general password, they will see what they need to see. When they go to check out, they provide their more specific information. They'll set up their own account, their individual login and password. This is very good for hospitality, healthcare programs. For example, you take the entire line of a manufacturer, a Landau, a Cherokee, a Medline, whoever you want to throw out there on the medical side, and you're going to offer the entire line to a hospital as a private store, so they'll see exclusive pricing, but they really don't need the high-level security of each employee having to know a login and password up front. So offer a medium-level security option. The hospital can go send employees there safely. They can get in, place their orders for the entire line at whatever discounts or incentives you're providing them to go and do such. So multiple levels of security or access to your stores for your end users helps them distribute opportunities to their employees for placing orders. Typically, the level of security is a decision your end user is best to make. What will assist them if supplying you with a list of employees on a regular basis presents a business challenge for them? Offer them another option. Lastly, there are many suppliers now who are making technology available to help you manage your direct sale programs. 3 examples of how to put the supplier's technology to work for you are as follows. Inventory status. Not only can you benefit from your own warehouse position, but for many suppliers in a direct sale program, you may be offering an entire catalog of products for them to choose to decorate, not based on a specification, simply based on the style and interest level of that particular branch's location in placing that order. So if they place the order, you can show inventory status from your supplier on the site and rest assured that your direct sale division will not get caught in a situation that an item is not available for fulfillment. Showing the warehouse position of your manufacturer or supplier can be a very powerful tool in some direct sale programs. Certainly in publicly visible. Decoration automation. This chart over here shows an example of how we can go from a shopper to an order being placed with the rental uniform company. That order being sent over to the vendor, injected into their order stream automatically or based on the click of a button. That apparel being sent back over, then drop shipped, if not stocked, drop shipped to a decorator and or to a rental company's own DC for decoration. And then ultimately the goods sent over to the shopper. This, for rental companies, is ideal. For rental companies to manage direct sale programs touch-free is extremely enticing, valuable, profitable. The concept is out there already. At UniformMarket, for instance, we have built such an arrangement with companies like VF Imageware, Landau, Dickies, and others. That type of automation in our industry, to go from an end-user shopper to the uniform provider who has the relationship, provides Tier 1 support for that customer, and then inject the data, the order, into the systems of the vendors, have that item either then go straight to the shopper, have that item go to a distribution center, the rental laundry or uniform retailer controls, or have it drop shipped over to a decorator for decoration, and then sent off to the shopper. Becomes a very compelling way to manage and facilitate direct sale programs. We're UniformMarket. We're happy to review directly any and all of these examples in private go-to meetings with anyone who would like to talk further about their efforts online. In particular, I'm Rick Levine. There's my email. As far as UniformMarket, we pretty much have everything at uniformmarket.com that talks about all of the things that I've talked about. You can see demo stores. You can see examples of the catalogs we're helping to manage. You can see a few examples of the private stores we've been discussing. If you don't already, I encourage you all to opt in to our news division here at Uniform Market. We have a print publication called Made to Measure Magazine. It comes out twice a year, focuses on direct sale in particular. We also have UniformMarketNews.com, online news, updated all the time. You can opt in to receive email news from that source as well. That, unless people shout out more questions, which I would encourage you to do, concludes my prepared offering for how you can take your direct sale program and think about the ways in which you can facilitate that relationship into a successful online private buying experience for your customers. There's a couple of questions that are now flying out, one of which is pricing on private stores. Of course, there's as many companies that can build private stores as there are web developers in the world. So pricing on these types of structures can have a huge range. Here at Uniform Market, we have, of course, developed and solved so many of these business problems already. We are able to offer up stores in their most basic formats to be built for under $1,000 on one-time setups, typically a private store in the $500 mark, and then monthly fees. These monthly fees, though, everyone, represent your initial use of the Uniform Market platform. Each store you add after that does not add to this price. Each store adds only $30 per month, for example. So every example we showed you today of current users of our platform are paying some monthly fee for their initial service at Uniform Market, and then $30 per private store that they want to set up. Whether there's 500 employees or 50,000 employees at your end user account that uses that store is irrelevant. That's our basic pricing. There are, as I said, others out there. Another question was going to some of these example demos. For instance, if you go to, well, let me log out. If I log out, if you'd like at any point, you can go to salesdemo.uniformmarket.com, and we have some example logins that are always here for you to use. For obvious reasons, in the webinar today, I have shown you examples of some of our customers and some of their customers. We have done all of those with permission. For obvious reasons, we're not going to publicly showcase one of our customers and their end user account because we all know how competitive this industry is. However, at the site here, Uniform Market, you can go and you can see some demo stores. You can see some featured users who are running publicly visible websites. This would be their public versions. I will tell you most, if not all, of these customers run private stores and manage private stores using the Uniform Market platform. If I click on example private stores, you'll see a few others down here. If I click here, it'll take me to a publicly visible, no login even required, example of another private store layout, generically called Health Uniform Store. This example for a group of hospitals who have set up potential ordering. timing. Typically, customers that provide the specifications for how a private store should be set up, they've worked out certain business rules with their end user accounts. They know what they want to do. You can have private stores up and running for accounts anywhere from 1 to 3 weeks, depending on, again, how complicated the specifications are. Are there business rules that must be hand set? Or can you set up a private store using your developer's software out of the box? You should expect it to take anywhere from a week to 3 weeks for items to be set up. Other questions? I thank you all for joining us for today's webinar on private customer online uniform stores. Hope we gave you some ideas for how you can apply these practices in your businesses. If you choose to use the UniformMarket platform to do so, we of course welcome the opportunity to assist you. If you also would like more information in general, without committing to our platform, we are happy, again, to talk with any individual or groups of individuals in a go-to meeting where there can be a verbal exchange of thoughts, ideas. Everyone, have a great day. Thank you.